Let's see, which one is the latest save? Looks to be this one, no? Let's see where this puts us. It's been a little bit, so... I don't quite remember where we are in the story. Oh right, we were going to the summation examination, right. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments before after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord von Zieks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we've just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by the Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean? I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart jury number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you've had excavated, sir. That's right. It took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tumpus for it. Now, my learned Japanese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. Alright, I gotta change one small thing, so we're gonna get over here. Okay, there we go. If I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance rarely vaulted by anyone with moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, so we just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in the meanderings around town. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt on his way back from his lodgings, Mr. Natsumi walked down Blair Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man... Old man, you can talk? You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on the Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Can't say as I remember. You don't remember? What?
Is there a suspicious foreigner behind you?
I'm gonna wager, my learned friend. You say it was this old man the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Lord von Zieks, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord? The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses? Senor, don't you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there's eyewitnesses to the incident. As I remember, one of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Von Zieks brings to the stands as witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Suzuki-san. I think he is... don't want to say I think. I believe in Suzuki-san. I know he's innocent. I'll keep battling to the very end until this battle is over. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Constable Royal Beat, sir. Raleigh Beat? Nothing to report in the streets, sir. And I'm Miss Brate. Patricia's my name. I'm glad to say that I'm the Youngtown hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No. It was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Rather surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check the meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I've collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crime on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. Yeah, so honorable, and a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Blair Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Royally Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw in the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. Okay, let's see how this goes. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and I went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely the Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I saw him clear as day. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsumi at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summonation examination will be quashed. It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. An unfortunate, but chancing, and on your wedding anniversary, too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for an evening with my man. Thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the faces of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it is without doubt that he accused Mr. Nasuki Natsumi. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except the man is so tired his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense? Commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord.
I just want to see what they look like.
It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you could probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Roly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Roily. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear. It doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you'd finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir, yes. Although, I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm a proud owner of this, I will serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof I'm a London copper. It's the noble founding principles of the force written on it. It's a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty, to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir. And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail, without a grumble. Because I know the prodding of my boots is all the Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it, then. But, sir, just on that particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Miss Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Good lord. What a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. Okay, could you please tell us more about that? Two silhouettes? That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Blair Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsumi. Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at the time, there was nobody else nearby. Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there were streetlights on Blair Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? This poor guy. What? Yes, that's right. Of course. There was a light fog on the ground. The Blair Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said? Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh my god, are they gonna do this every time? Blech. They're still maintaining that there's no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like they must be that's how it really happened. Beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsumi, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? All of a sudden, one of them collapsed on the floor, then the other scattered something before running off.
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what was it at the time, but then we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Yes, that's right. It was some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim laid on the pavement. Indeed. It's clearly pictured in the photographic print. The rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without question. So, the mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the taunt mouth, the stub nose. Everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right, he looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books on the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue. Yeah, as if a policeman can't lie? Besides, he's not really a credible witness when he's, you know, on the verge of sleep all the time. We ran over the course and went for help at the nearby police box. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I'm a proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yes, that's right. I asked Miss Beat to go. I was off duty by that point, but a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat that incident fell under so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There was nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens. What was with that delay there? Oh, please, you're making me blush, isn't he, darling? Almost like he knows this is bullshit. Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Well, let's move on, shall we? It was definitely a Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day. Hold it! But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes. And what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. It's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright. I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Oh my god, come on. Hold up, I'm having some internet issues. It's not what I wanted. I'm actually not sure how much of that actually got picked up because I lost a shit ton of frames for some reason. That's great. Well, I'm already in this, so I can't exactly stop. What? It was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taunt mouth. Wait, you're just repeating yourself now? Unmistakable, sir. As far as the couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Suzuki-san that they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I'd hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Miss Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsumi running away from the scene on Blair Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh, no. Then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here, what are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statements about seeing Mr. Natsumi is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of the testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt that the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in the statement somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be up against it? Okay, so... Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What are you hiding behind your boyfriend for? No, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? That will do, Miss Beat. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. If I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you'd like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Miss Beat. Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I can even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene. Hey, wait a minute! He had...
Objection!
He had 3 books, not 4. What are you talking about? So, you're saying there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Mazur somebody, what's it your earnings, a meal for someone, and a thing-gummy something. I'm sorry, Miss B. But there's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. No, what flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsumi's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. And here's where the prosecution goes, well, that only shows from one shop. What if he went to one and then the other and then continued home? Watch, I fucking bet he's gonna do that. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from the evidence as well, there's only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there. I swear it. I saw them. No, madame. I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So can it be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken? Oh, no. No.
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that can't be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint some inconsequential discrepancies. Will that be fair? You've seen right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife, in her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh? You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Blair Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another when it shows the victim's hand. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. Order. There, you see? See, look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased of the accused on the day in question. Miss B, the titles once again, if you please. Yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or another. The picture of Monsieur Lecoq. What's it? Yearnings. Canterbury yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for Gabaror, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Miss Brett's powers of recollection may only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Raleigh? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Brett mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book? I wonder, what became of that 4th book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. The second crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. The prosecution rests. Okay, so let's take a look at this new evidence. Okay. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. I'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. Book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does this seem to raise a red flag with me? Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I've heard of a book by that name before. And very recently, too. It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay, let's see where this goes. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The severest longer route to the accused's lodgings that you tried to establish in your examination examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness' powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions? Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You've heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. The trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? Honestly, I don't think there's anything here we can object to. As much as I'd like to, I don't think there is an objection to raise. I should just keep quiet now and see what happens. Well, it appears the defense has no objection at this juncture, in which case... Mr. Naruhodo, was it not clear? The case for the defense is in great danger. Yes, I realized that, which is why I decided to let the sweat drip from my trembling brow in silence. You're so right, sorry. If I don't say anything now, it'll all be over. It won't end for us well. I can't let that happen. Wait, what? We were supposed to object? Wait, the defense...
Objection!
The defense will have to wait, because the sapless hesitation cannot go unpunished. Is your derisive finger-pointing punishment enough? No. My learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. I honestly didn't think there was anything to object to. If I may, Lord Von Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down a debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must have been a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh? I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential, and your opinions invaluable. Senora Hutto? One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madame. Go ahead, Mrs. Zato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible this new evidence might be decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So let's take this opportunity to examine this newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. So I understand. Thank you, Mrs. Zato. This is it. Sadazan has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight to this case, and heretofore has been overlooked. Ah, for fuck's sakes. Okay. Well, the only thing that got updated was the book, right? We found the burn mark at the end. But how do we tie... Even if we were to ask what the significance of the burn is, we can't tie it to the case, so... what? Okay, so let's present the book, because I think that's what we're going for here. I think. I don't really know.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a fragrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that this evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify the clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means we may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? Okay, I think I... Okay, so it's obviously going to be here. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What are you... Good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my dear Money Bunny's friend? Oh, were I to concede the point, it bears no relation to the case. There is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage the sorry tome has suffered? I can suggest its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals startling truth. About the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand is yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Gracious, how could you possibly... Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you and your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of the trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? It was him, right?
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to a couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Miss Garadeb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but... Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen in jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Miss Garadeb herself. Goodness. Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is an outlandish behavior. The one is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirched her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, that almost exactly at the same time the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. Good Lord, what sort of incident, Counsel? A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it happened in a blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. The worst of it is I lost my favorite, a book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate. Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is... risible? All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case, it'd be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the case of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears Mr. Garadeb was considerably enraged Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. She's literally tugging him every 5 seconds on his scarf. Yeah, I can't imagine being abusive at all. Absolutely not. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. And then the wife started hurling things at me. There I was, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Good gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there was no reports of the Garadeb's wedding pane being broken. It's quite true. I also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garadeb household. But was it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and not even remotely? Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would leave a window open in the middle of winter. But if it's a fire, he would fucking open it to get the smoke out. Does the defense postulate the scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garadeb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really? Claiming our little tiff set off a whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance sake. How could you? And nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully my family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging your upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now, listening to this Nipponi spouting his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is a little hunchback with a mustache. And he ran away from the scene, too. I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Zieks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessary protracted proceedings. But then, one must also exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my dear friend, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time? Ahem. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your individual decisions regarding the defense culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
We're really doing this again? Thank you for the unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Zato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. Oh, this is not going to go well. My lord, the defense has to exercise its right for summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. No time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Oh, they're gonna be to continue at that point? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Oh no, is it already... Alright. Let's see where this goes. I've considered the defense's counsel request for the further examination of the jury, and I've determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman. We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to clearly state and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books are his. Okay. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might consider... Even if the woman was throwing books, it cannot be related to crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes. Yes, considerable more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the facts as it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene of to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how this can be argued any other way. That means, I'm afraid, during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? These 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and method by which the attack was conducted. Now I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Naruto, you have to do it, otherwise this will really be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel. Yes, my lord. Alright, Brianosuke, focus your mind now. Clearly the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid, or should I say, Miss Garrideb. If a book that disappeared from the Garrideb's house on the evening of an incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand, there must be a link to the 2. Yes, that's what we have to find, using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Miss Garrideb and how she reacts, even to things other people say. I wonder if, like, if there was something that, she threw out the window as well, and maybe that, like, maybe she threw a knife? And this is all just an accident? Okay, so I think the first one we have to press on here is this one, right?
Hold it!
Explain what you did with your fire. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry, what's that? You have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake for my birthday. It was 75 candles on the top, it did. What a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? This kind of devil worship? Of course not. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, obviously. It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruto. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. It definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from a fire? What fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had opened all the windows to clear it. That was super fucking obvious where that was going. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in a hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsumi, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. You don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Okay, so... that's the spirit. Okay. The problem here... Winter broke. Okay, winter house's fires are dire. We had to open the windows to clear the smoke. That's what the chill gets, you see. Okay, so he changed his statement now.
Objection!
The two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I tell you, it wasn't me. What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3. Do you see? Me? Yes. See what, sir? Did you hear the juror number 6 account of his birthday celebration last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his window in the middle of winter. Yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be bad not to open the... Oh, exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in Mr. Garrideb's household. Mr. Garrideb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my.
Oh, hold up. Wait, can I not react to that?
Excuse me.
Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Mr. Garrideb. Hearing me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm fighting who I really am? It's imperative you confirm something for the court, so please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or did your husband open the window? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating? The room would have been in a thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught on fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, alright then, yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continue to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house is on fire. Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It'd be terribly bad for the nerves to do so otherwise. Of course, I should have realized. It's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruto. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have to have that added to Miss Garrideb's former statement. Okay. Okay, so what do we do at that point? Press this again. See what she says now. The 4th book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrideb told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you've come to mention it, yes. It was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the onset? She keeps trying to slap him, but I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like this, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well as you know. I really don't. I barely noticed I was throwing a book matched as the title of it. Okay, you got something to say to that?
Excuse me.
What is it, jury number 5? You know something? I remember what it was. The memory I blocked out. I was listening to what this granny was saying, but it all flooded back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? A Miss Garrideb or the maid, I'll have you know. The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's used to being hit all the time. What we're learning is London has very abusive relationships. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for wages I'd earned that day. I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I'd lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whisking past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me it did. About an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know, the god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I could tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? Never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When a lumen loses their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. So Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that at all. Nope. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor. Use a bow or the like. Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. What time is it? Is it noon? Okay, I was thrown off by the... So... Okay, so we're really gonna go with the assumption that... Okay, a woman in rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Okay, so we're gonna pit that against the second juror's witness statement.
Objection.
And we're gonna make the case that she just happened to throw a knife out the window. Those two statements clearly have a deep, significant connection. Good grief. You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2. Do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation is how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Gyarados household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mrs. Gyarados could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that, ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling that this might be what happened. Now listen here, you Eastern Gala. As a foreman of the jury, I demand a straight answer. You give this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. This is a bold accusation to make, but I haven't had any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain, at the very least, this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that was found its way from Mr. Gyarados' household to the scene of the crime was the knife.
Take that!
Juror number 4. Miss Gyarados. What now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged in the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mr. Gyarados were in the throes of an argument. Miss Gyarados was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window, a window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that that book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Even my missus ain't got that kind of aim like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand, but that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Mr. Gyarados, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madame. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end without so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman? I wasn't expecting him to actually join. I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it? Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided, and this trial will continue. Ass pull, ass pull, ass pull, ass pull. That's non-stop in these games. Now then, Lord Von Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. What follows is repugnant. It's good for nothing save the gutter.
Did he just throw his wine glass?
Yes, he did. This is like the 5th one he's thrown in this case. He just has an endless supply of chalices. He's just like, yeah. If I may, Lord Von Zieks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourself better with the relative positions of these those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more apparent that between the crime scene and Mr. Garibald's household runs a rather wide street, Brer Road. Which means that the distance from the Garibald's house to the scene is 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards. It's around 14 meters. 14 meters? That's a little farther than I imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, nearly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? I mean, it would be the inverse, no? Like, she went to pick up the book and then the knife went to stab her? And did the jackknife follow near an identical trajectory to plunge in the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic, slanderized detective stories have been more believable plots. There's nothing I could say to that. The prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mrs. Sato, serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Oh, that's what gets you going, huh? Insulting dear Sherlock Holmes. Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead. The prosecutor may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believably enough to persuade the jury to change its leanings, and as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, Juror number 4, Miss Joanne Garrideb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive, a cross-examination of the juror? Order, order, order! This is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary. Lord Von Zieks. There's already witnesses in the stand who testify the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both the burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before the couple's eyes. And we must assume that they would have been able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Beat, reporting for duty, sir. I'm trying not to say that, but it's literally S-A-H. So I know that sounds dumb as I say it, but I don't know how else to say it. It's literally like sa.
Sa. Sa. Oh, sa.
Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now. Sa. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sa. Oh, they're so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. The case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb, believe me. A London Bobby is as good as his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garibald house were top-hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. That is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. The detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. Now, sir. Sorry, but what exactly is top-hinged casement windows? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the window in Mr. and Mrs. Garib's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow the air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is that its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents it opening? It's all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to be thrown through the window open window, it would have clattered along the panel and fallen straight down to the pavement below. Oh. You see the problem then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane has been shattered, something we discounted already. I can't... Do you see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw he crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. My lord... Oh god, another desperate situation. Alright, where's this gonna go? Okay, the music is intensifying, which means we're getting close to the truth. This could be like the final part. This has nothing to do with Mr. Garrideb, and believe me, a London Bobby is good for his word. You see, the windows on the top floor of the Garrideb household are top-hinged casements.
Hold it!
By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark down the map. Here is the location where the objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. It had been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinged casement thing before. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mr. Garrideb's house is furnished with? Oh, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Miss Beat? Sorry. You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Is it possible... Okay, if we're going to assume... Could it be possible that the victim was walking along the road where... just beneath the house. So the book falls down. She goes to pick it up. Next, the knife falls down. The knife goes into her back as it's picked up, and then she goes across the street before being realized she got stabbed.
And then just drops dead.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't drop dead, but she succumbed to the injuries. It's not improbable.
I like that idea. Such a pocket knife. I know it's like, oh jeez. Oh, watch our mosquitoes are out tonight.
I mean, it's possible. We don't know yet. Well, you look delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see. I hadn't realized. Yes, the street, Blair Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? Constable Beat. Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with the interviewing the occupants of Garibib's household yesterday. Their house is on my beat, you see, so... Really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garibib household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it as well? Outside Mr. Garibib's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Blair Road, we would have never been able to go to that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a bobby, after all. Extraordinary people are bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. You know what I think? I think it was God's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have the information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. The pavement where the victim was found just lies outside of Constable Beat's, the border which runs down the middle of the road. And now it's my turn, I think. Okay, press this statement. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky, looking out for our lucky star. Sorry? The star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had crawled across the sky in front of us, it would have been lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said, 3 times at least. Of course, with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so she ran straight over to help her. I did leave the scene to go fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Yes. You said you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Okay, does this ever stop? Oh, please. Suppose I've gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true bobby is never really off duty, sir. I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
Hold it!
Just press that. Nothing to report? That's correct. I had my eyes open wide the entire time, never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I can swear that on the yard's honor, sir. Really, that seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir. Well, it seems altogether regular to me. The burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garibib's household, so the question remains, how did it find its way into the hands of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As you can see from the photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, the book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The 2 mysteries of how the knife ended up in her back and how the book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. I had no right to speak out. What do you mean? I requested the cross-examination of Miss Garibib without consulting you. Even the judge did deny me. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Miss Garibib. we were ever going to get the truth out of this matter. Do you really think so? Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how the window opens, Mr. Garredub's belt found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it? You're right. And then there was what Miss Garredub's reaction to me showing her the knife. The one's hiding something. I'm sure of it. You're right again. I need to use this cross-examination to cover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear. Yes. Okay, so... Okay, so this was the last statement was the one that, where she commented on that something was weird.
Objection.
Nope, that was wrong. Okay.
Objection.
Okay, now I'm guessing. I need to stop. I need to actually, like... I'm gonna press everything again. Maybe something changes. How can we say that? Good question, sir. And the answer is this. There's the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder for all its policemen of our sworn duty. He's shown us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Is what the job's all about. And that's why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word, while rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. So. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Okay. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garredub? I see. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time, then. Absolutely. I will answer to the fullest of my abilities. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garredub's domestic dispute cannot be related to the case. Before I get into that, sir, just one more thing. Yes? I very much like you and your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard, so I hope you'll take back the tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. To that end, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you. I try. Okay, so we got a warrant card. Okay, before you give me this puppy dog, guys, let's see what it says here. A policeman must strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles with this beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Metropolitan Police Regulation Item 1. Any crime falling under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. And when a crime is discovered on the beat, a policeman will assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Okay. Can I ask you something, please, lawyer, sir? Yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really, what is she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony less valuable. That is not what I'm saying at all. Just as you might see me as a wife as a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I don't even remember suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you will let me speak, won't you? Yes, Miss Beat. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one. It's a very loud mutter. I heard that. The Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Miss Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is sometimes off, though. Okay.
Hold it!
Miss Beat, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening, I saw it clearly. The little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I always ended up at the wrong place when I made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so... You got something to say to that? Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened this evening is all. You mean Miss Beat lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box the next beat over from mine. And she was gone a fair bit longer than I was expecting. She'd be back within 10 minutes. My darling was gone for a good 15. Oh, Riley, you're such a tease. But the reason I was gone so long was because the bouquet, silly. Bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? It was a present from our wedding anniversary. Really so romantic. He saved up for, with farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Yes, how romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling? Yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure one thing. You have to ask Miss Beat about the bouquet. Bouquet? Or... No, that's not bouquet. B-O-U-Q-U-E-T. What is that?
Huh?
B-O-U-Q-U-E-T.
Bouquet?
Is it bouquet?
Yeah,
Am I saying it right?
I think it's like a bouquet of flowers.
I that's what I'm saying. I think
so.
I know the word, but I don't know if that's how you spell it.
I think it's bouquet.
I don't want to ruin it by saying the wrong fucking word the whole time. I'd like you to add some details about it in your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
I didn't say you're American. I didn't say you're American. Bouquet of flowers.
What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. What's that? You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. I was so upset. When we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back, I was shocked. I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice it at first. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. And the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere to be near the victim's body at all. In case you need remembering, Miss Beat, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice coming from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably. That's right, silly me. I got over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how it got there. I really can't. So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of the Blair Road to the opposite. Curious indeed, isn't it? But the worst it is, I forgot to pick up the bouquet up again where we left the scene. A beautiful rose Rolly brought me. With that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry, solitary rose? Yes, that's it. That's a bouquet Rolly brought me for our anniversary, with odd bits of change he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Von Zieks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Gerardub household. In front of Gerardub's house? They really are going to do the thing I said. God damn it. Though it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case since it found it on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Can I have it back now, please? No. I think it's for good measure. This rose should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. The anniversary bouquet has been entered into the rose court record. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial, do you hear me? I want it back. Grief, rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Miss Beat. Okay, so now we have some new evidence. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet I can present the rose now to him and say, did you really, or did you take any time to look for the rose that you worked so hard to get?
Objection.
You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 minutes or so you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Miss Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to the beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Blair Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Jesus.
Objection.
That wasn't hurt.
But if that were the case, why didn't Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. The bouquet belonged to me. It's nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in the case is mysteriously the wrong way around. Did he move it because he was so lazy and didn't want to actually report on the king? It's like, God damn it, this is on my beat. Scoot, scoot, scoot.
Not my beat, not my bro.
What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Miss Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Gerardub's book. Mr. Gerardub's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Miss Beat's bouquet should have dropped here at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street. But in fact, It was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for these things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. Don't listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Wittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh, good. Miss Garrideb's back come around. You might call it nitpicking, Miss Garrideb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime is a criminal offense. It's called tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for the very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend. Who would possibly have the cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is one who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All that evidence and all the testimony points to one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime?
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Royally Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard? Nonsense. I would Royally do something like that. There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to the nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Miss Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well...
Objection!
First you make an accusation about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something. That's right, he's right. My husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? Doesn't make sense. You offered no motive for this alleged tampering. 'Cause he's a lazy asshole who didn't want to investigate it.
No, he just wanted to continue his date with his wife.
Until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery? Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, will you now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering? Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up, at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? I mean, where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Bel Air Road, we saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everyone has been led to believe, but in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? That should be obvious.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Garrideb's book fell directly from the open window above, and your bouquet, Miss Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious.
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Blair Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in the print. The victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Blair Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Zieks said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it laid where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in the original position on the pavement on the west side of Blair Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Royley Beat. Well, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? O'Reilly, it isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream, a terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out, everything exposed. Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly. What on earth is the meaning of all this? Really, why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all of this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation. For why on the particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move to the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet Lord Von Zieks is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you'd better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? Is it this one? Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist in initial investigation and help detectives. Here's the thing. I don't know if to present the rose or the rules. Because the rules kind of explain why he moved it, because it was out of his jurisdiction, he doesn't have to help with the investigation, right? But we could do the sympathetic thing and say he didn't want to end the date with his... Either one of these could work. So I'm going to save real quick.
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived in Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on this beat in all kinds of ways, there's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. Yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had to work so hard to be able to afford a simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal, when he and Miss Beat stumbled upon a crime along Blair Road. When he saw the shady shadow figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? But sir, just on that particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Miss Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my life how much I cared. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Aha, Constable Beat. Is that, or is that not, the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So that's it. It was all to do the boundary of your beat. Oh. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on the Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal must still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. I've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When the crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why does this have to happen here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. You have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Merstrom Street, and then... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rory. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined, and so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street, to the east pavement of Blair Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought... I was sure that the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon? Of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I brought out for Pat. Oh, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? 4 it was. Yes, sir, definitely, 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsumi, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in Mr. Garrett household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. That's how you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. The 4th book information has been updated in the court record. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time. You see, there were only 2 people at the scene. Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you look at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it. I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a total difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord? Yes, Lord Von Zieks? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. You're letting that pass pretty easily. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him? For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course. Please, don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. All right then, my love. One last thing, Constable. Sir? Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Never again, sir? You mean to say... Leave. Now. The trial is not yet over. Sir. Aziz can be compassionate. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Suzuki Natsumi, is the only person who could have committed this crime. No, I disagree. Now that we know that the true scene of the incident, there was someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of the possibility already. Lord Von Zieks, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will. If further investigation is warranted, the prosecution has no objections to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime. But it was an accident, right? Or we can put forward that it was an accident. The defense would once again like to request a cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again, my assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it is imperative we cross-examine juror number 4, Miss Joanne Jaredeb. Me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrett, answer me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garrett. In the course of the argument, a manor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looked out over Briar Road. What of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered and with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Listen, as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Miss Garrideb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before? I don't recall it. Seriously? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there is all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes. No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Oh, is he actually going to help us out? Make no mistake. Your jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out. But that's just a common or garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like it at home. If one went missing... How would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Miss Garrideb. Now you listen to me. I've refused to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Miss Naruhodo, if I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror. Oh. The prosecution does not object to the defense request to cross-examine this woman. He is being weirdly nice to us. Like, maybe he realizes the truth now? Okay, but for right now, I have to end the stream here. We'll have to figure out what happens next time.